So, one of the larger differences between the United States and Mexico is that Mexico is personal, and the United States is very efficient. It's not necessarily personal. Also, there's a lot more people in the streets in Mexico than, say, any suburb in the United States. So, there's a lot of people. Um, so, I was looking online yesterday. Well, two things. I just discovered that my hair guy, Antonio, grew up in the first town that I'm going to be stopping in on my trip to Mazatlan, which I'm going in a couple of weeks. And that is, the name of that town is San Luis Rio, Colorado. That's his hometown. And he's going to ask a friend to meet me at the checkpoint, which would be very, very nice. Meanwhile, I started looking on booking.com for a room for the night, one that wasn't $165 because, please, I don't really need a $165 room. I just needed not to have bed bugs and a bathroom. So I found a place in the price range, which is about half of that, or maybe it was $65. But it said, and they'll take a dog. And then it said also, if I wanted to have secure parking, I had to make a reservation for that. But it didn't show how to do that on booking.com. So I looked up the phone number and I called them and no one answered. So I had to leave a message in my best horrible Spanish, which, as you know, I know thousands of words in Spanish, but I can't really put a coherent sentence together. So I said, por favor, necesita, tiene un cuarto para one night, una noche, and told them the date. And then I hung up. And a few minutes later, I get a text. I said, we got your message. And I'm trying to translate the text and send it back to them. And they call me. And now I have to speak Spanish to them. Oh, tiene un cuarto. He said, I speak English. Oh, thank you, God. Thank you. There was a God. So I tell him why I'm calling. I need a reservation. He said, oh, yeah, that's because we only have 4 parking spaces. And I go, 4 parking spaces? What's that about? But I said, oh, great. I said, well, I'll give you a credit card. And he said, I can't take credit cards. That's only through booking.com. We're not set up. And do you have an app? And I said, I don't have any apps. I'm from the 60s. We don't believe in apps. I don't believe in apps. And he said, well, that's okay. And he took my reservation. I said, you can pay. He said, we prefer cash. I said, of course, I'm set up for that. I'll pay cash when I get there. And he said, and you'll reserve a parking space? Absolutely. And I said, and what is your name? And he told me his name. And I said, you're the manager? And he said, yeah, I am. And it turns out this is actually a bed and breakfast, but that they don't have breakfast. But I feel I made a friend. His name is Fergie. And also it has a very unusual name. It's called Escape from the Routine in Spanish. So, thanks. That's Mexico.